People who signed up for those FA local MILF websites. What happened? Is there actually an abundance of locals wanting that? Story 1. Picked her up on Halloween outside a bar on my way home. She was walking to her car with her stepsister who was 15 years younger. I was flirting with both of them and told them to come over to my place for an after party. In the car, they were both joking about who was gonna have fun with me, and I knew it was gonna be a good night no matter who I got. Ended up back at my place and we all have a drink and I was sitting in between them on the couch. Some frisky comments turn into kissing and touching both of them. Then my dong comes out, and the rest was just like an adult film. That was the last I had. Now, considering they were stepsisters, they did not get intimate with each other or touch each other, but had no problem switching off and keeping busy. Story 2. So, obviously they're fake. 100% just a scam to try and get your credit card information or charge you money for stuff. Sometimes you can get into the sites without entering information, but most will at some point end up trying to bribe you, won't let you continue without paying. As for the local cougars, they're either robots, which have a programmed conversation, which is really just a few questions, and then buy premium to meet with me, or someone who is really invested in getting you to click on the link they sent you so you can meet up and have some fun. Angie really isn't 8 miles away looking for a huge flute. Just a guy with a fake website looking for some dummies. They will also use your email to hand out to other services who will spam you with how women with really unique names like Sarah, Jennifer, Laura want to have fun with you. So you now have a constant flow of unwanted telemarketing in your mailbox. Story 3. Back around 2005, I used to be on Adult Friend Finder quite a bit. The site was full of fake accounts, dead accounts, or just people who wouldn't actually commit to anything. However, there were also real people. Sure, it was mostly dudes, but there were plenty of women too. The thing was, you had to cover a wide net of people with your messages to get any replies. Still, I had quite a bit of luck with the site. I only got catfished one time. The girl was actually the same person from the photos, but the photos were 6 years old, back when she was skinny and hot. However, when I met her, she was morbidly obese. She must have gained 150 pounds since the pictures were taken. I could tell it was the same person, but she was buried inside of someone completely different. I felt put on the spot, so we went out on a date that was super awkward. Nothing happened at all, and I stopped talking to her afterwards. I met a married couple that was super weird. They were in their 30s and I was only 25 back then, and they taught me a lot. We only did it 3 times, and after that I ghosted them because I thought it was weird being with a couple. It just wasn't my scene. Story 4. Back in my rock bottom days, I did check out some of these sites for some sort of human contact. There is a very small amount of genuine sites, but the ones on these are nothing like the ones advertised and are more Mymftwaf BBPs. Mum, I would never freaking touch with a freaking borrowed barge pole, and are probably disease-ridden. I saw quite few profiles that said allergic to rubber. That's when I noped out of there. Story 5. As a 34-year-old, attractive from what I've been told, childless woman who appreciates younger guys, I have a horrible time convincing the guys I match with on Tinder that I'm not a fake. It doesn't help that I'm quirky and prefer to show them my FetLife profile versus laying out all my naughty fixations again and again for every one-night stand. 3/4 of the time I get directing me to a website. I knew it. You think I'm just going to hand over my credit card information? I'm also very blunt and hate wasting time, so I tend to start messages with, "Hey, I'd love to meet up. Are you free for some fun tonight if we talk a bit and vibe?" I've had to really alter my approach over time and prepare various ways to confirm my identity, FaceTime, sharing eccentricities of local landmarks, without giving too much info out in case dude's a weirdo. Story 6. I clicked on one of those once in my younger years, out of interest and possibly desperation. Sadly, no local cougars wanted to smash that night, but I did meet a lovely cougar a few years later in a bar. Didn't end too greatly though, got kicked out as I was rounding third. I met her in the bar, figured she was about early 30s, didn't really care. We hit it off, a very rare instance for me at the time, and after being a few drinks deep, she proposes we go back to her place. Once we get there, we start making out, and soon enough she's telling me if I gave her favor, she'll do the same for me. So, as I'm under the sea, I hear her phone go off, and suddenly she goes, "You have to leave." I ask her why, and she basically goes, "My daughter's about to be home, go now." So she grabs my arm, motioning me up, throws my shirt at me, and essentially throws me out the back door. She tells me to walk up the neighbor's drive and shuts the door in my face. Nothing too substantial, but that was my one and only cougar experience. Story 7. I used to be one of those. A company hires people to respond to men's messages on fake profiles, and you get 20 cents a message. Once made 101 week. I ended up stopping mostly due to my conscience. I don't remember the site name, but believe it or not, I found it looking for a work-from-home job on Google. Story 8. I had an adult friend finder account for a few months. I must say the site is pretty legit, but the issue is the people. I sent dozens and dozens of messages to a lot of different profiles, and I rarely got a response. If you're single, it's very hard to find a fuck buddy or casual hookup. Most of the people on there are swingers and want to swap. I had the membership for about 8 months and deleted it after I just got so frustrated and annoyed that I didn't want to deal with it anymore. I know for sure that I had 2 hookups, maybe a third, but I can't remember. I did get to participate in a fun group though. That was fun. Don't waste your time and energy unless you're a couple that swings. If you're single, just buy a nice pack of tube socks or just hire a model. If you want to keep watching videos like this, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Okay, let's get back to the video. Story 9. I bumped into a Catholic high school who was insufferable. When we'd talk online it was all fun, but then in person it was all BS. She was constantly trying to flex her wealth on me because her family owned some restaurants and had some money. I guess that stuff was impressive at her school, but she didn't seem to realize that my own family was far wealthier and that she wasn't impressing me at all. Again, she seemed to want a boyfriend more than anything. I was putting up with the BS for a while because I really wanted to have fun with her, but she would never let me. Eventually, I got tired of how obnoxious she was all the time, so I told her off and that was that. But I met another girl who was leaving to join the army and wanted a night of wild fun before she left. This was by far the best experience of all. She was absolutely stunning, and to this day remains the hottest woman I've ever been with. She had been working out like crazy to get ready for boot camp, and her body was toned like a sports model. Her skin was soft like velvet, and holding her felt incredible. There was no BS with her at all, just fun, and lots of it. I think I hit a home run 9 times that night with her. Even when I thought I couldn't get hard anymore, she'd just get me there like magic. Honestly, all of the hassles I put up with before were more than worth it for that girl and the memory I get to keep. She was way too good for me. Story 10. Those websites are filled with spam bots pretending to be women. However, there actually are a few bored, neglected housewives on the more legit ones. Mostly they just flirt with the idea of meeting up then flake, which I guess is not dissimilar to regular hookup sites or apps. But I did have an extended fling with a married woman that I met from one of those sites for a little while back in college. A bit homely, but I didn't care. I just wanted to have fun back then. She never wanted me to use protection, which I stupidly obliged to. It was hot, okay? But, surprise, surprise, she got pregnant. I dipped, of course, and the husband never found out as far as I'm aware. I still look her up on Facebook from time to time. The kid was of the special needs type. He's grown up now, and he actually uses Reddit under the username of TacoDaddy69, or something cringy like that. True story. Story 11. I met a girl that was pretty hot, but also pretty trashy. I went to her house to pick her up for our date, and she asked me to come inside. Evidently, her husband wanted to meet me and be sure she would be safe with me. They told me that they were getting a divorce, but couldn't afford to live apart, and that their only rule was, no have physical relations with other people in their home. It was super weird. While we were out on the date, she let it slip that she was in prison for a few years. She was reluctant to talk about it, but I pried, and with the help of booze and grass, she eventually opened up. I knew she was a sub and really into that lifestyle, but what I didn't know was that years ago, while doing some heavy stuff with her boyfriend at the time, she felt threatened, freaked out, and almost ended him. I knew right then and there that I was ghosting this girl. I dropped her off at her house and tried to just give her a kiss goodnight, but we started making out. She tried to go further, but I reminded her of the house rule and told her I didn't feel right about it. In honesty, I was scared of what she'd do if I ghosted her. Another girl was a cute, chubby chick who had something wrong with her leg that made it really hard for her to walk. I think the disability made it so that, although she was a totally normal girl, she didn't socialize much. She was absolutely desperate and eager to explore anything I wanted to do. I was happy to oblige. We went out a few times, but it was pretty clear she wanted me to become her boyfriend, and I was more interested in just having fun at the time. I would go back and have a little fun now and then, but she always tried to turn it into something more. Eventually, I realized that I had to cut her loose totally, because she was a cool girl, and I hated keeping her hanging on like that. I met a few other women, but they were quite unremarkable, and most of them never even progressed. The biggest thing I found was that even though it was a site for hookups and fun, most of the girls would want to date you. Even when all we would talk about was meeting to smash, once I'd meet them, it was anything but that. Story 12. I feel like it is plausible that a lot of them are single and can't really get out into the dating scene because they have their kids most nights. But I have never heard of anyone somehow signing themselves up to be talked into physical relations via some sketchy rabbit trail link to desperate masses of thirsty men to actually meet up. That's solicitation, right? I feel like the only women who would get involved in that would be really downtrodden drug addicts that have some weird dude in their life that sees a money-making opportunity. Tinder is free, you basically match with every guy you swipe right on, and casual dating is fun. People don't tend to call accepting some free meals and likely hooking up if all goes as well. We call it dating. Also, the assumption that cougars are old or neglected by absentee husbands is incorrect. I had my kids at 20 and 21 and was divorced at 25. So I have been a cougar almost my whole adult life. However, as an attractive 32-year-old female, I don't troll the internet solely for random fun. I mainly date or hook up with people I meet in real life. But again, an app like Tinder is a much more discreet and socially acceptable route to meet actual attractive guys and get some fun. One last thing. Whoever mentioned that experience is important when it comes to physical relations is right. I dated a 21-year-old last year, and the bedroom business was strange. That isn't to say every older guy I've been with has been great, but actually, yeah, sort of the older the better when it comes to the technicalities. Story 13. There are actually real girls chatting with you on some sites. My ex-girlfriend did one of those live chat things for a while and showed me how it works. So you log into a site and you assume a fake girl profile with fake profile pictures and fake personal info. You get assigned several dudes you can chat with simultaneously. Before you got them assigned, other girls have already chatted with them. When you log in, you just have to continue the chat that other girls before you have started. You can see the chat log because you will have to continue the chat, so that the dude doesn't suspect that you now are a different person. The point of all this is that you can work when you want. If you log off, another girl will take over. And if you log on, you take over from another girl. Every sentence must contain a minimum of words. So no short answers like yes, no, or something like that. It has to be complete sentences. You get paid the more you write. If you do this a whole day, it's like minimum wage. If you do this long enough, you will get a pay upgrade. The dude has no idea he is chatting with different girls, all who uphold a fake profile. The dude will ask for pictures of you, and you have a gallery with pictures of a random girl that you can send to him. He will also send pictures to you. The dude will continuously ask for a meetup, and the rules are that you, as the girl, must give vague answers like, yeah, let's maybe meet up next week, and keep asking him questions. The goal here is to keep the dude in the chat as long as possible, for he is paying for every message. It's like sensual phone calls, but in text form. Story 14. Not exactly the same, but I have a pretty solid amount of experience with this sort of thing from being on dating apps for the past decade or so. Back in 2003, if they wanted to trick you into paying, they'd use pictures of supermodels and just straight-up 10-10 babes, and they'd pay what I can only assume were men from third-world countries to chat badly back and forth before sending you the link they wanted to push. Eventually, I assume people caught wise, so they started using pictures of real girls, presumably stolen from the dating apps or social media, to give it a more realistic touch so you'd think you just got very lucky, so that when the bot script sends you the link, you think, well, it's worth the chance for $15 with only a $75 cancellation fee after 30 days if this is a scam. Nowadays, I assume they have enough data collected that they know exactly who they are targeting. The pictures on dating apps are more often than not large women with pretty faces, attractive enough. But lonely guys could reason that they are single because of their ample rear end, that they're having trouble finding a mate, while at the same time wanting a piece of that juicy backside. Story 15. So yeah, I clicked on one of those ads, and it redirected me to a different site with the same basic premise, an adult hookup site. For fun and giggles, I signed up using a Gmail address, used a prepaid cash card that had $2 left on it, and the basic membership was free. And it was legit. Found a chat room and started talking. I got matched with a few women. They found me in the chat room, and over the course of a year, I ended up having fun with 5 of them. I was post-divorce and hadn't had fun in a while, so I was sowing my wild oats, and they were down to have fun. Number 6 was the real kicker, though. Absolutely crazy in bed, with nothing she wouldn't do, and I fell for her hard. She ended up being emotionally and physically cruel in the end. Story 16. I remember that my ex worked for one of those companies. It was exhausting for her. So she did like a couple of hours every other day, more or less. So not full-time, and that would maybe translate to a couple of $100 a month, in my country's currency, for say 30 hours work. And the thing is, you can't just write anything you want. You have to study what the other girls have written before you and jump off that so you don't contradict yourself if the dude wants to know more about you and what you have talked about before. At the same time, you must be flirty and come up with questions that keeps the dude interested to continue to chat. It's more work than it sounds, and thus exhausting to do for several hours in one sitting. My ex did not think that it was worth the money. Also, she said that those dudes come from exactly those kind of "meet this hottie and insert your city now" ads. These dudes are always desperate and thirsty middle-aged men. I tried it myself one time together with my ex, just for fun. It's really harder than it sounds. I really had trouble to come up with things to write, and I had to always check the chat log so that I didn't contradict or repeat myself. The fun novelty of this whole thing wore out pretty quickly. Story 17. I hooked up with a local cougar one time, but it was out of chance, and it had nothing to do with those pages. Neither any dating app. I just met her through some friends. The moral of the story is that there are local cougars that want to fuck with younger guys. You just have to meet them in the wild. I feel quite accomplished. She had fake chest, and I gotta say, they're quite nice. Pretty soft even. 10-10. It was a little weird when I found out I was younger than her son. Yeah. Story 18. I signed up for a few when I was frisky and desperate. Then I realized, like most men, that of course it's a total scam. The amount of effort I was putting into them, I could use to just set up a dating account instead. So I did that. An attractive woman doesn't lose her value, regardless of age. There will be someone out there willing to have fun with her. There are cougars out there. But you have to actually put in effort and go out on a date. Story 19. I did it as a joke, and the scam asked for my credit card to verify my age. I just typed in random info, and surprisingly, it worked. Then it linked me to a shady chat dating website, where you obviously talk to bots that send you links to a shady cam, sites to subscribe to random girls. I think all in all, it was just a series of hoops to jump through to get to their shady cam site. So you technically can find cougars, but they are cam girls, and you have to pay to see them. Another story is, I was curious about those dong enlargement ads, and was dying to know what their secret really was. After clicking a series of random links and pop-up sites, it finally redirected me to a video where a guy talked for 45 minutes about how much of a loser he was in high school. Then he joined the military to learn discipline, where he discovered if you squeeze your cheeks together before jizzing, apparently it stops it, and also makes your dong bigger with enough training. After the long, boring video was over, I got automatically redirected to his site to buy his books for $800 to learn how to invest into real estate. If I remember correctly, I think his book set was called Pandora's Box or something. Story 20. I was nice to her at work for several weeks, then saw her at a bar shortly after a bad breakup, and we started conversing. 2 nights later, I get a 12 a.m. text asking me where I was. I was drinking alone at my condo. Remember bad breakup? So I responded that I was drunk at home, and she wrote back, "You should be drunk at my house. My kids are at their dad's." So I head to her place, which wasn't far from mine, but it was in a swanky gated neighborhood. Knock on the door, start making out, pick her up and carry her to the bedroom. Ended up having fun with my pants around my ankles and my boots on and crawling into extremely comfy king-size bed and sleeping like a baby. Another woman I met at a Potbelly sandwich shop when I was visiting Portland. She started the conversation with me and it just felt natural. We ended up spending a good part of the day together and exchanged numbers. She later texted me asking to meet up for drinks. You get the gist of what happened next. I had no intention of it ever happening, which is the best part. Story 21. I signed up on some ad like this. Before I even added a picture, I got messaged by 3 women. I live in a small country, so even the capital city wouldn't get such activity on such unpopular website, especially considering that I didn't even have any picture. I couldn't see their pictures because that was a premium feature, Also, after several messages during the conversation, I couldn't read or send any more messages because it was a premium feature. Now the funny part. The premium was extremely overpriced, but you could sign up for a 24-hour free trial by giving your credit card info. I used a fully drained debit card. They said that the transaction has been accepted and that after refreshing I'll have full premium features. But after refreshing, the site would take ages to load and keep throwing random errors, mimicking an overloaded server. Good thing that my debit card was fully drained and about to expire before the next payday. Otherwise, I wouldn't even consider clicking such link. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you made it this far, I'm sure you'll also enjoy my other video. See you in that video.